In book 21, the Carnage is reaching a crisis. It is just a bloodbath. Achilles is hacking his way through the Trojan forces. It's just a slaughter, a one-man slaughter through an entire army. He's going through them again and again and again, so much that he gets to the river Xanthos, one of the main rivers that's that feeds the city of Troy. Historically, cities evolve, or they grow out of large rivers, and that can support the culture. Think of the great rivers: the Nile, the Seine, the Thames, the Hudson. The river itself has a kind of divine presence, so much so that a river god dwells there. It is the river itself is a god, and there we're getting into a kind of folk tradition almost, where you can see these much older in many cultures, much older river gods coming into some conflict with the newer gods that come on the scene. And this sort of happens in this book. The river itself becomes outraged at the violence because it is being essentially choked with dead bodies and blood and armor and all of the detritus of Achilles' rage. And so it starts to fight back, essentially. The river rears up and speaks lines like it were a anthropomorphized entity. But it is, in fact, a goddess or a god of sorts. And it challenges Achilles and starts actually like, you cannot do this to us, and starts like calling on the other rivers in the neighborhood. Come on, let's go, let's get this guy. And in fact starts like flooding against Achilles. And Achilles is holding on and trying to, he can fight his way through an army without busting too much of a sweat. But now he's up against the entire force of nature. Nature itself has become outraged at the level of Carnage, at the violence that Achilles has shown. Nature is fighting back against him. He is opposed to nature. This is a significant dynamic. He is fighting against nature. But it's not just Achilles and nature, because of course Hera jumps in, and Hera and Athena, the big fans of the Greeks, come in and start fighting against it. And Athena and Hera start fighting for Achilles. They draft Hephaestus to come in. Hephaestus is the god of the blacksmith god, of course, but also the god of the forge. He has great skills with fire. And so he sets the river on fire, which is a great image. The river is now burning, choked with bodies. It is now burning as a sign of the discord in the universe because of this level of violence. And so this is hitting the river right where it hurts. Rivers don't necessarily get along with fire, and it's especially troubling when fire seems to be controlling the water. So the river god essentially calls a truce and says, okay, Hera, we don't need to do this. Just, call off the dog, so to speak. Let's come to an arrangement. We'll stop bothering him. And she does. She calls off Hephaestus and stuff. But the bloodlust that has been unleashed by the humans on this in this, or at least Achilles with the humans, has now seeped up, and now all of the upper echelon of the Olympic gods are in on it, and they are all taking their partisan tribal allegiances to great hostility among themselves. Artemis is there. Apollo is there. Poseidon is siding with the Greeks against the Trojans, and Apollo is fighting back against him. And Ares is there fighting, and it is all violence erupting out of this rage. This rage has infected even the highest reaches of the Olympic gods. Hera does call off Hephaestus, telling him it is not fitting to batter thus an immortal god for the sake of mortals, which is essentially the same advice that Hephaestus gave to Hera at the beginning in book 1, when she was dwelling too much with the humans and she was getting too caught up in their concerns, and he went to her and said, okay, look, you're causing dissension and strife, Eris, up here with us, and we shouldn't be all of that consumed with human matters. That's beneath us. Now, in a echo of that, she is giving the same advice to him, so that starts to calm things down a little bit. But the Hera manages to restrain herself. Again, you see that emphasis on restraining despite her own anger, which is significant. And the gods are having trouble restraining themselves. They give in to the hostility. The lust for Eris infects everywhere, not just humanity. It is uncontrollable. Into this, we see Priam come about. Priam is reintroduced at this time when there is just absolute chaos going on here in the heavens, on Earth. Everything is devastation, and we are brought back to him in the Lattimore, the aged Priam, reminding us at this moment of his humanity, his vulnerability. He is an old man, and he is always presented as this very old, frail, but hardy soul. Humanity, quite frankly. He is possibly the most human character in this entire poem. He looked out and saw gigantic Achilles, where before him the Trojans fled in the speed of their confusion. No war strength left him. He groaned and descended from the ground to the ground from the bastion, and beside the wall set in motion the glorious guards of the gateway. Hold the gates wide open in your hands, so that our people in their flight can get inside the city. For here is Achilles close by, stampeding them, and I think there will be a disaster. But once they are crowded inside the city and get wind again, shut once more, the door leaves closely fitted together. I am afraid this ruinous man may spring into our household. So Priam sees that Achilles is out of control. Everything's going crazy. We need to retreat. We need a strategic retreat here. Significant here. He could very well be outraged by the destruction of his people. He could very well just, I'm going to punch back against you. And he would be saying this from inside the walls of Troy, of course. But he's prudent. He's recognizing his own vulnerability. He's recognizing the vulnerability of his people, and he is putting his people before his anger. He doesn't want to see his army destroyed. He doesn't want to see his city destroyed. And he recognizes through reason, through the ability to restrain his own resentment, his own Eris, he recognizes that this is the time to come back inside the walls of Troy, to retreat, which isn't the bold macho man move, but he recognizes that this is the way it has to be. Rather than spurring vengeance against Achilles and the Greeks at large, he brings them back inside the city walls. Then there's a little scene where the Trojan warrior Agenor, another great warrior, has a little debate with himself, like, okay, I'm near the walls of Troy. I see everybody else coming. I see Achilles kind of chasing them to get in. What am I going to do here? I could run and maybe distract him. I could stand and fight and maybe get my butt kicked or killed. And there's this little debate there that's really very interesting, because he has the presence of mind to do it. Again, the more human, I would say, the more human Trojans keep their reason in these moments. He gets a little help. He gets a little divine help. He does stand against Achilles. He challenges Achilles, says, okay, you and me, let's go. Here, you're going to meet your fate today. And Achilles, caught up in his rage, like an angry dog, quite frankly, an animal, gets easily distracted and takes this one-on-one challenge seriously and starts to chase Agenor. Now, swift-footed Achilles can easily outrun Agenor. Agenor knows this, and Apollo steps in and basically puts the whammy on Agenor, transports him far away, as the gods can do, and Apollo takes on Agenor's appearance and begins running and chasing, and they actually run past the same river, Xanthos, that we began with at the beginning of the book. In all of this, and they have a little fight, but Apollo as Agenor escapes, and Achilles is kind of left there just in more rage and now looking around. But in the meantime, the Trojans have all escaped inside the city walls. They are safe of even Achilles. Priam's decision to open the gates and Agenor's decision to sacrifice himself or risk himself in that moment pays off for everyone. That is the power of civilization. That is the power of society. That is the promise of society, that if we all restrain ourselves from time to time, if we all keep our heads, keep our cool, not give in to the violence that infects so much around us, if we can do that, we can survive.